There's somebody watching right now who wants to be a finance expert, or even maybe even not that. Like somebody wants to be an influencer. They wanna have a bad month. They wanna have a bad month. They wanna make 35,000. They wanna have a bad month. What advice do you give to them? Like where does somebody start to be able to monetize their influence, monetize who they are?
I think, it's interesting because there's so many different spaces now. You can become a TikTok influencer, you can become an Instagram influencer, but you have to choose one platform. You have to choose one platform and do that platform well. You have to figure out what your niche is going to be, and then where you're going to show up consistently in that. And you have to make it your job to create content. You have to create content in a way where people, like you acting like you're getting paid for it before you get paid for it. There's so many different ways to make money as an influencer, and it's not just with brands. It is then you're influencing people, so developing your products, developing things that you can sell to your audience.
No, I love that.
Pay attention and listen, we about to teach class. Inside the vault, my man Ash Cash. So get your man right. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. to see him to change your life. Millionaire mindset, the best on earth. Blueprint, the wealth, the knowledge network. So get it while you can, and he's standing right here. Just come inside the vault and see black millionaires. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Come inside the vault and see black millionaires. Oh yeah, oh yeah. You won't ask cash, you can catch it right here in the vault.
All right, so welcome to another awesome episode of Inside the Vault with Ash Cash, the greatest money mindset show on the planet. When I tell you, listen, you better get your pen, your paper, you better get your pad out, you better pay full attention to this interview because we have a powerhouse in the building who's going to teach you how to get the bag by being your 100% self. This is my sister. This is Miss Tonya Rapley. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. This is a special interview for me because we known each other a long time. Like you literally were my, I want to say second or third interview that I've ever done, right? And so
really?
So I remember I was a personality and doing interviews or doing like a talking head. But I remember I had my radio show in New York.
Right
WACR.
there, like, was it Morningside Heights? It was like, right. Not Morningside Heights.
It was like City College.
Yeah, City College.
Yeah, and I think you were like my third interview that I had because you had just landed the cover of Black Enterprise. And from that time, right, that was a blessing.
Yeah.
And then from that blessing, like your life has been a movie, like blessing after blessing after blessing. But before we get to all of that, for those who don't know, who is Tonya Rapley?
That's so big. Like, okay, I'm a financial educator. I am a mompreneur, financial educator, military brat, best-selling author, and international speaker. I'm the founder of MyFab Finance, which is a platform where we create a safe space for women to talk about money.
Bars, and that's how you know she's a professional because she just did that like one take and just kind of threw that in there. And so take us back to the beginning. Like how did Tonya Rapley, the mompreneur, the financial expert, like what was the genesis of that? How did that start?
So I never thought that I would become a financial expert because the very first time I had military parents. And so they were very serious about school and everything else. The very first time I ever got put on punishment was because I got a C in math.
Wow.
And that was like fourth grade. And the struggle with math continued throughout like middle school, high school, college, fell out of math class like at least 2 times in college, had to take math over. And so I use that as an excuse for, I suck at math, I'm bad with money, just bad with money. And I was living in New York, so I went to college in Miami, Florida, moved to New York City, and my undergraduate degree is public administration. So I was like, I want to change the world. I want to be a world changer. So I'm working at the YWCA of Brooklyn, making $27,000 a year in Brooklyn. And I hosted a workshop for women about finances. And I'm sitting in a room and I'm like, these are low income. Like they're low income, you low income. Right. And you went to college and did everything you're supposed to do. And you're not on the road to being who you want to be or what you want to be or having what you want out of life. And so at that point, I was like, all right, I got to learn. It can't be that hard. Like, it can't be that hard to learn how to do better with money. And so I started reading all these websites and everything. So I scheduled an appointment with somebody, and they wanted to charge me for it. And at that point, like, my salary was being garnished because of mistakes I had made in my past. I didn't have any money to pay anybody, so I was like, you got to figure this out. Wow. So I went to the library, checked out some books. Girl, Get Your Money Straight by Glenda Bridgeforth. And it's so funny now because now she's like a mentor to me. And it's like, your book changed my life, like literally changed my life. And checked out that book, started reading forums, and it started working. I was like, oh, if you just do it, it works. And so then I was like, you know what? I need something else to hold me accountable because it's really easy to slide back to your previous ways. And so I ended up starting a blog. I was like, I'm gonna start this blog. It's gonna be called My Fab FICO because I'm turning 30 in a couple years. I want to improve my credit score. I want to be the 700 club by the time I'm 30. Yeah. And then like in my heart, like I just wanted free clothes. I wanted somebody, like I saw these bloggers getting free clothes. I was like, somebody just send me free clothes. Yeah. And the blog, people started sharing it. Like I designed the first blog. I was like, I'm just gonna design something on WordPress. It was terrible. Last night I was like, I wonder if I could find that first blog design. But that's why it's important to just start. Yeah. Because it was absolutely terrible. Banner was atrocious. And after a while, people just started sharing it. That was 2013. Wow. People just started sharing the content. I was like, I think I got something here. I think people want to hear about money from people who they resonate with. Yeah. And that was the start.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Are you a coach, consultant, service provider, course creator, or expert that wants more clients to happily pay you $3K to $10K for your programs and services? If you answered yes, I have a special gift for you. It's from my guy, Marquell Russell, and it's called the Paid Ad Playbook, which shows you how to actually get 50 to 100 leads every single day that actually convert into clients. Marquell, he's used the same process to help clients create over $250 million in revenue. And this is more than $250 million. You heard me right. Some of the top influencers, coaches, and consultants in the world have used Marquell's strategies to build multi-million-dollar businesses, and they still use them on a daily basis. And the cool thing is that this works for you even if nobody knows who you are. So to get free access, go to InsideTheVaultGift.com or text VAULT to 904-447-5274. Again, that's InsideTheVaultGift.com or text VAULT to 904-447-5274. My guy's going to take care of you. Let him know that Ash Cash sent you. And that was a start. And then you get the cover of Black Enterprise magazine.
It's crazy.
Was a big deal. Big deal. And the new face of wealth. That was the title. So how did you manifest that?
That was God. I didn't even know. But a friend of mine, Tiffany Budgetnista.
Shout out to our sis.
Yes, they reached out to her, and Tiffany was like, "I already been in Black Enterprise. Yeah. Like they want to write up on somebody. I want all my friends to get it." Yeah. So I interviewed and did the write up, and I was like, "Okay, cute." They were like, "Can you take some photos for the issue?" And I was like, I'm going to New Orleans I think I was going to a conference. I was like, I'm going to New Orleans. So I just got my husband, then boyfriend. We went upstairs to my rooftop in Brooklyn, took the photos, and I was like, here you go. Yeah. And the next thing I know, like a month, maybe 2 months later, I'm sitting in my Brooklyn apartment on Nostrand in Hancock. Yeah. And someone texted me and was like, Black Enterprise cover? ? And I was like, huh? And she was like, you're going to cover Black Enterprise. Right. I was like, wait, what? Yeah. And I went and like bought it. I went online, looked for it, and bought it. I was like, oh my God.
What was that feeling like?
I just broke down crying. Wow. Because at this point, I'm still working at the YWCA.
Right.
No, I left the YWCA. I went to another job because the YWCA had been tripping. Yeah. I went to another job. Yeah. And like, so I was just like, me? Like, I'm going to cover a magazine? Yeah. I called my mom crying. Like, my mom's like, send me a picture. Yeah. And, that cover was such a blessing. It was unexpected. Yeah. It was such a blessing. I was working at my 9-to-5 still, so I made sure I had copies of it next to my desk. Right. So whenever my boss came to talk to me, know who you talking to. Right. And but the thing about that cover is, and I always tell people about this when it comes to press and PR, have your stuff, have everything in order before you go for press. Because I didn't have an email sign up set up on my website.
Yeah.
I think I had kind of upgraded from the previous website I had done, but I didn't know anything about capturing leads.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about capitalizing on that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know my value at that point.
Yeah.
So people see me on a magazine cover and they're reaching out saying like, oh, can we, like, I'm looking for a finance coach, They're assuming like I'm a coach at this point. So I'm like, sure, I'll coach you. 3 sessions for for $50.
No.
Yes, Ash. Yes.
No.
And I'm in grad school at this point. Yeah. So I'm working a full-time job. I'm in grad school getting my master's. And then I'm coaching people who have come from a national magazine cover. So I have clients on clients. $50 for 3 sessions. That's barely like $15 and out. Like, it was crazy. But that was a blessing. That was a thing that like, this is it. Yeah. Like, let's do this.
Yeah. And I guess the cover kind of like, pushed you to that space. Like, all right, I mean, first it's the blog, people liking the blog.
Yeah.
Now I'm on the cover of a magazine. Now I'm getting clients. At what point did you leave your job, and at what point did you know that, all right, this is what I'm gonna be doing? Like, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I went to that conference, and a woman was on the panel saying that she made $35,000 in that month. At this point, I got a raise, but I'm making like $35,000 in an entire year. Right. And I was like, this is a finance blogger, some white lady from Nebraska. And I was like, you know what? Get it together. Get it together. Learn how to do this. Learn how to make this your full time. So that was October, like around October 2014. I resigned from my job September 2015. I made it my mission. I was like, I'm gonna quit the top of the year. Then they gave me a raise. I was like, all right, maybe I'm gonna stay around, stack a little longer, figure this thing out. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna quit by my birthday. I'm going to Ghana. I'm gonna quit by my birthday. They gave me another raise. I was like, all right, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I can stay around. And then I landed a contract. It was my first big influencer contract. That was the equivalent of what I was making at that job. I was making $65,000. I landed an influencer contract that was worth $65,000. And I was bringing in money from my website. I was bringing in money as a speaker. So I had other income coming in, and that's when the project was actually with Rush Card. And so I interviewed Russell Simmons as part of that. So I'm interviewing Russell Simmons. I got to go back to work after I interview with him. So I'm interviewing him. I'm on a high, Ash. Oh my God, Russell Simmons?
Right.
I go to my job. I walk in. Like, my job knows I interview Russell Simmons. Everybody knew I was going to interview Russell Simmons that day. Walk into my job. My boss was like, hey, welcome back, Tonya. We need you to print out agendas for the meeting, so and so and so. And I was like,
nah, we're not doing that.
No, and I knew what he was doing.
Right.
So I went outside and I cried. And I called my mom. And I was like, he just asked me to, he's paying. Like, my mom was like, quit. And I was like, quit? Like, for real? She was like, you've been saving money. Your business, like, you have a contract that's replacing that income. What are you afraid of? And my mom is my mom served 22 years in the U.S. military. And so for her, the person who craves stability, to be like, go ahead and quit, I was like, all right. I went back to my desk, wrote up a letter of resignation, went home, sat on it. Next morning, scheduled a meeting with my boss, and I resigned.
It's funny because that's actually my story as well. I was a banker, and I had written my first book in 2009. I had got a contract with the city teaching foster care kids. And I had just did my first radio interview on Hot 97, and somehow my boss heard about it. And the moment I came back to the branch, he was like acting funny a little bit. I ain't gonna shout him out, but you know who you are. He's acting funny, and he was like pulling his muscle. And I'm like, fam, you don't even really talk to me like this though. Like, hold on.
Don't that get nasty?
And then I think I want to say like the next day, I didn't even wait. The next day I did I resigned. So it's funny how how that happened.
They see the light. They see the light.
What Laura says, funny how money's changed the situation.
You know, they see the light, and it's kind of like, thank you.
Right, absolutely.
Thank you for acting up.
For sure.
Because had you not have done that, you know, it probably would have prolonged it a little more, but that just let me know they don't value you the way you value yourself.
Absolutely.
And they're not going to value you the way they value yourself.
Yeah.
So what are you spending time here for? You don't, and at this point I don't even need to be here. I got to the point where I don't need to be here.
Yeah.
And that's a really powerful place to be in. I know that's, people ask me what my why is. My why is so my son can have that same, I don't even need to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was, it was like, y'all playing.
Yeah. And so now fast forward 2021, millionaire from being an influencer,
it's
multiple six-figure deals, businesses, working with your husband. Shout out to come on, like listen, you live in a life.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is beautiful. I believe that everything begins with intention, and I can't say that I set out. I did not set out to be a finance influencer. I did not set out to be a financial educator and helping people with their finances. But I did set out to be free. I did set out to be free from a 9-to-5. I knew that I did not want to work in that type of, even with growing up, they used to ask us, what do you want to be? And I didn't know any entrepreneurs growing up because my parents are military, all their friends are military, kids in the school. Like my friend, her mother was a lawyer. That was like the most, successful career that I knew. But I didn't want to do that. Like I went to work with her one week and I was like, this is boring. I don't want to do this. And so I didn't know what it was, but I just knew that I wanted to be free. I knew I wanted to own my time. And it was almost like when the door opened, like when I saw a peek into the opportunity, I was like, let's take it. Like, let's figure this out. So it's alignment.
And so, I want to stick there real quick, right? Because you said something that, this is inside the vault. This is, we talk about money mindset and literally, we're in the vault, but metaphorically, you keep most of your valuables in the vault, right? You said alignment. How important, like on your journey, how important was mindset, right? Like being able to, get a $65,000 contract and, really just kind of, be able to, I use the word attract, right? Attraction starts with intention. There's work that needs to be put in. So I'm not just saying you sat, in yoga pose and, in the sauna, but, how are you, what kind of mindset does it take to attract those type of opportunities?
So there is a book that I read when I started my entrepreneurial journey. There are two things that I did because I knew I had to reprogram my mindset. The first one was there's this motivation, YouTube, they have those motivational videos. There is this motivational video with Eric Thomas voice over it, and he has that line, when it's as bad as you want to breathe. I downloaded that as an audio track, and I played it on I would listen to it on the subway as I'm walking through New York. Like sometimes I wouldn't even ride the subway just so I could walk and listen to it over and over and over again. I had to reprogram myself. The second thing I did was read The Magic of Thinking Big. And even
Myers, I think.
And even, it's funny because me and my husband went to Tulum a couple of months ago, and I took it with me. I was like, it's time to refresh. Refresh, because you're going to the next stage in your career. You're going to the next stage in your life. It's time to refresh. And I think mindset, you first have to change your mindset, but you also have to continue to feed your mind. And it's like a muscle. You have to continue to flex it. You have to continue to push it. You have to continue to expand beyond even what you can comprehend for yourself. Because it's very easy to shrink back.
Absolutely.
So it's ongoing, but those are the two things that really help me. And even now I listen to motivational audio. I feel like that's one of my biggest tools. Is just when I'm having a month that's it's slower than I want it to be.
What's a slow month?
So my goal was to make $85,000 a month, at least make 85. So anything less than that for me is a slow month.
No, I asked that because I saw you put a post and said, I saw a post and somebody was like, somebody said 35,000. You're like, oh, 35,000 a month is a slow month.
It's a slow month. Anything less than that is a slow month now because now I got responsibilities. I have people. And my goal, I'm in a mastermind, and there's people who's making $1 million a month. That's the goal. That's the goal for me to get there. But that's a slow month. So even when I'm having a slow month,
Yeah.
I'll listen to motivational audio, like Nehemiah Davis.
That's
Nehemiah
shocking,
is family.
Yeah.
I listen to Nehemiah's now No Opportunity Wasted mixtape.
Yeah.
And then my good friend Tony Jones has a mixtape, Affirmations for the Grown-Ass Woman. And so I listen to hers too.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy, not crazy, because we know how these things work.
Absolutely.
But literally, like maybe even the same day, emails start popping up. Hey Tonya, da 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 da. Yep, talk to my agent. Like it's it's beautiful how it works.
I love it. And so now there's somebody watching right now who wants to be a finance expert, or maybe even not that. Like somebody wants to be an influencer. They wanna have a bad month.
Do you?
They wanna have a bad month. They wanna make $35,000. They wanna have a bad month. What advice do you give to them? Like where does somebody start to be able to monetize their influence, monetize who they are?
I think, it's interesting because there's so many different spaces now. You can become a TikTok influencer, you can become an Instagram influencer, but you have to choose one platform. You have to choose one platform and do that platform well. I know like Tori from her first 100K, like she's blown up quickly, TikTok. She's focused solely on TikTok. Millennial in Debt, I believe it is. She's Instagram. She's focused on Instagram. You have to figure out what your niche is going to be, and then where you're going to show up consistently in that. And you have to make it your job to create content. You have to create content in a way where people, like you acting like you're getting paid for it before you get paid for it. That even means sometimes doing mock influencer stuff. Maybe you're not getting paid for it, but maybe you like this brand and you just want to, shout them out. Or maybe they just want to send you free products. And I get people all the time like, they just want to send me free products. It's like, you got to start somewhere.
Absolutely,
You value yourself, but you have to start somewhere. You have to prove that you're capable of doing this. And so it really is determining what niche you want to be known for, and then choosing the platform where you want to just show up and show out. And doing that consistently. I mean, I feel like, so one of the, there's so many different ways to make money as an influencer, and it's important to understand that. A lot of people think it's just Instagram, but most of my money doesn't come from Instagram posts as an influencer. It comes from satellite media tours. And so satellite media tours is when you become good at on camera. And so now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, call me one take Tonya. Like if you put me in front of a camera, I'm going to deliver. And I really had to practice delivering on camera. I studied it. I actually would watch people on media segments, news segments, watch people's highlight reels. I enrolled in improv classes because I felt like I wasn't good on my feet. And reporters sometimes will ask you questions. Like, I don't like to read questions now. It keeps me sharp. And so I took improv classes. I started taking more Q&As when I was doing public speaking so that people could just catch me off, so I would be comfortable on my toes. And satellite media tours is where I literally will sit in a room, maybe even like this, sit on a set, and a brand will say, hey, we want you to weave our products into interviews with media outlets. So I might be talking about Pampers. I'm a mom now. So I might be talking about Pampers and saving money when it comes to Pampers and these new low-cost Pampers. I have to come up with the talking points, but then I'll talk to maybe 30 outlets. So when I lived in LA, my days would start at like 3 a.m. 3 a.m. and then my first segment would be like 5. But I'm done by 10, 11 o'clock. And I just walked away making $80,000 in that one day. And so I love satellite media tours. When I get that email,
make that clear.
When I get that email, I got to do one on Wednesday. I have to do it. And now with COVID, I do them from my house. So literally just get dressed, walk into my office, do the interview, and then go eat lunch with my son. It's amazing. But there's so many different ways to make money as an influencer, and it's not just with brands. It is then you're influencing people, so developing your products, developing things that you can sell to your audience.
No, I love that. All right, y'all, you already know my man Dave Anderson is definitely helping entrepreneurs get amazing levels of success. Yo, he's helped his clients generate over $118 million in 2020 during the pandemic. And then now you can get unprecedented access to him and his team with his program, Bully 101. You're going to learn business from one of the best business coaches in the world for less than the cost of your cell phone bill. So here's what you're going to get. You're going to get a digital membership card that entitles you to get free access to the Business Bully virtual events and online workshops, unlimited access to their exclusive digital university with hours on demand, with business knowledge at your fingertips, zero fluff, no BS, monthly private masterminds with Dave and his team. You'll get a special celebrity guest mastermind sessions. You'll learn business, all of the things that you need to take your life to the next level. All you got to do, look, enroll now at bully101.com, bully101.com. Let's get it. All right, let's get back to the show. And I think it's important that you said something that was really important, right? You talked about consistency, and you talked about what I'm gonna call like act as if, right?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people who are not investing in themselves or their content because they're not getting paid, and they expect to do it when they get paid. But if I hear you correctly, it's like do it when you're not getting paid, so that someone who's willing to pay can pay you.
I think about it as like an athlete.
Yeah.
Like they don't wait to pick up a ball until like when they get on the court with the game time. They're practicing beforehand.
Right.
That's your practice. That's your practice because you want to make sure that you know it resonates with your audience. You know how to create content, and you're familiar with the platforms and everything else. You're familiar with what you can do. I mean, I've had brands be like, "Hey, Tonya, like the reel should only be 30 seconds." I'm like, actually, I have 60 seconds on mine. Like I actually, and you should know your platform and your capabilities better than them, and you don't know that unless you're practicing.
Yeah.
And so you got to treat it like a job.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. And so at what point? So I know at this stage of the game, you have a whole team right behind you, and so at what stage of the game do you graduate from just I'm gonna do everything, I'm gonna get it how I live to like.
Yeah.
All right, now it's time to get the team. Now it's time to get some representatives. Like, at what point do you do that?
I would say you should do that when you have consistent income coming in. Consistent income, because even if it's just a virtual assistant, it's going to free you up to do other things. Maybe just free yourself up so you're not responding to scheduling emails, that you're not scheduling yourself. Maybe you're not the one sending the invoices, because you want to be freed up so that you can be a creative. As an influencer, you're a creative, and you want to be freed up so that you can do that. But I would say as soon as you start bringing in consistent income, or if you have a 9-to-5 and you have enough money, and you can start paying someone, do that. I have the agent, and I think that the first year I got my agent, I want to say when I first met him, I was at maybe like 40,000 on Instagram, on the MyFab Finance Instagram. And we're just now about we're knocking at the door of 200,000, but we were like 40, and that's at the stage where I got an agent, and I got an agent because he had brand relationships. So there's some times where my agent will hit me up and be like, "Hey," and he represents other influencers, and the benefit of having an agent is they might have an influencer, so now I have that major contract with the finance brand. I can't work with any other finance brands. That doesn't mean that other people aren't going to email me. But me knowing that I'm playing on a team, I'll be like, hey, I'll send this to my agent. He'll send it to someone else he works with. And so I've gotten deals that way. So it's kind of like we pass it forward. I've gotten deals that way. Other people have gotten deals from me that way. We had the biggest contract we had came from a bidding war. And at that point, I was like, hey, so bring my friend in and bless her. She's brilliant. She knows she knows that more than me. Bring her in and give that contract to her. But it was, so you graduate into certain steps. Actually, I just hired a director of operations this summer. And it should have been did it.
Absolutely.
Should have been did it. But you graduate to hiring different people, because the other thing to think about is then it becomes you're not just working for yourself anymore. You're not just working for your family. Technically, they should get paid before I get paid. And so now my overhead is to a point where I have a team to pay. And so you do want to think about that before you, because that can bite into your profit margin.
Sure,
So you don't want to just hire people for the sake of hiring people.
Yeah.
And I feel like before I knew what position someone was going to play on my team, I was hiring people just because, oh, like they got a social media manager, cool. But how's it driving the bottom line?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What systems do we have in place to make sure that they're effective in helping me make money and aren't costing me money?
Yeah.
And then how do I roll them off? Like, if you're not making me money, like, what's this process look like offboarding you instead of onboarding you? So you just want to make sure that you know how it's going to bring you a return on investment in your business.
And then how do you find the right team member, right? Because like, I mean, man, it's, now with Instagram, with social media, it's Cap City. Like, there's people out here saying that they could do these things and they can't really do them. So how do you know the right people to trust and the right people to hire and to bring onto the team?
Yeah, I'm curious about your team too. So after I answer this, I want to hear about yours.
Yeah.
So it's I think early on when I first started hiring people, I was like, oh, her website cute.
Yeah.
Let's hire her.
Yeah.
Now it's an interview process.
Yeah.
It's because now I definitely have had people, I'm like, I don't think you're a good fit for the culture of the organization. I don't think you're a good fit for me.
Yeah.
Because I know what type of leader I am. I need someone who is a self-starter.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm so in my head. Sometimes I'm not going to give you all the details. That's why I have a director of operations now to make sure everybody on my team gets the details. But I would be the person like, just put up some Instagram posts. And then open my Instagram like, no, take it down. And then now there's friction because I didn't give clear direction. And so I need people who are self-starters. So I have to interview. For me, it is a trial run. So it's like, if there's something that I would want them to do, say it's a virtual assistant and I want her to respond to emails for me, do a draft. Like, here's a scenario, give her a scenario, let me know how you respond to this. Or even actual scenarios in her interview process, be like, okay, as a follow-up, I would like you to respond to these prompts or these emails that I've received from other people. I just like to see how you respond to my clients or respond to my community. So that's something that I've done, kind of test them out. Asking for referrals. I think some of the best people I've gotten have been referrals. So asking for referrals has been really big. And I actually have someone who's doing, because I'm my personal brand, now I've been growing my personal brand, so I'm launching my own mastermind in my personal brand. And I hired a young woman off of Upwork.
Nice.
But reading reviews, like I'm gonna read all the reviews. Like if there's one where somebody was like, doesn't follow deadlines, like, no.
I mean, for me, like a lot of people that are on my team have all been in energetic alignment, really. Just like people who just were fans of the brand, who just wanted to serve, and they served their way. And fast shout to our brother Nehemiah. Neil always says that you got to serve your way to success. So I've literally had people who just were like, listen, I want to do your social media, and so now I got somebody who heads up social media, or somebody who's like, yo, I like what you're doing. Let me, let's connect. Like even this show, fast shout to my my partner King Richard. It was literally us meeting and talking about being creative together and just finding that alignment. And I mean honestly, for me it's energy though too, right? Because I think that regardless of what people can do for you, if the energy isn't right, it's not going to work anyway. Right? Like,
we don't build businesses to work with people we don't enjoy working with.
Exactly.
Like I didn't build my business not to like to get on the phone with you. Like that's not what I do this for. And so and I feel like I've always I think my nonprofit background has lent to me having grace and understanding. And so I'm always mindful, just like, okay, how are we going to offboard them? How do we do this as tactfully as possible? And just not completely burn the bridge, but they have knowledge of your brand and everything else, even if they sign an NDA. Like, so I always try to move along or move on from them nicely. But everybody's just not a right fit. And sometimes someone can be a good fit in the moment, and they don't grow with your brand. And that's the thing too. I mean, my assistant I had when I went out on maternity leave, amazing. I didn't realize she was my director of operations until last year. And I was like, why is everything such a mess? It's because she's been playing the position the entire time without the compensation. And now she's gone. And so with her, we worked out so well for a couple of years, and she grew. And she needed different opportunities, and like just being open to that too. Everybody might not be with your brand from day one to closing.
And let me ask you something about that. Like, how important is it, or have you had the experience where you're connecting with somebody who wants to be part of the brand, but they really want to be you. They really want to be you, and they guise it as like a mentorship or whatever. And then now they really looking at you. Like, how do you deal with that?
Oh, I'm looking. See, I don't have any problem pouring into somebody.
Yeah.
But you're not going to come on my platform and try to take clients.
Yeah.
There's only so much of a peek under the hood that you're going to get.
Yeah.
So right now, we actually just opened up our community, our paid community. We have 22 ambassadors in there. A lot of them want to be finance professionals.
Yeah.
And we offer a boot camp, and a part of scaling is me taking myself out of the boot camp. And so that one of these coaches are going to stand in my position and they're going to coach. Yeah. So I'm okay with that. Like, come learn, let's understand the expectations. Yeah. What I have a problem with is if you're sneaky about it.
Yeah.
And if you over here trying to be me and you're being sneaky about it. And next thing I know, you over here doing webinars and you should be working on my email sequence. Then I have a problem with it. And we, like, at that point, I have no problem. Like, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
It happens, and that's why you got to do your research on people. Yeah. Look their name up. I've definitely Googled some people. I'm like, I don't think this is gonna be a good fit. Yeah. Even though I know they're like, I get paid to be myself. I get paid to be authentically me. Yeah. I'm Tonya. Yeah. I am. And what I used to think when I started as a financial educator was a detriment is actually one of my strong suits. I have normally I have big natural hair. Yeah. I have 8 tattoos. I have a tattoo on my hand. Yeah. I was like, what brand is going to work with me? I got a tattoo on my hand that I got when I first moved to New York and was like in the streets. And it hasn't hindered me. And I realized that no one else can duplicate that.
Right.
So I'm also not necessarily threatened. I'm just like, you weren't honest about it. For me, it's the honesty. Yeah. It's not necessarily about what you wanted to get out of life. Yeah. It's that you weren't honest and didn't feel like you could come and say, hey, I'm really interested in being a financial educator one day, and I'd love to work from you and learn from you. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Let's figure it out. What can you bring to the table? Yeah. But if you're doing it sneaky, that's...
Hey, how you guys doing? Hold on, don't press that button, because that's what I do every time I'm looking at an ad that I don't want to see. This ad just happened to be life-changing. I just happen to own one of the biggest home healthcare companies in the state of Georgia. I can help you create your own. Just to give you a little bit of insight, I send out registered nurses, LPNs, and CNAs to take care of people inside of the homes that cannot take care of themselves. But guess what? You don't have to have any medical background, and you don't have to have any medical knowledge. So if you're wanting to change your life and you have a passion for actually taking care of people, then go ahead and sign up for Home Healthcare Blueprint. I'll see you guys later.
And so right, you said media tours, paid community influence. Like, what are some other streams of income that someone who is looking to get into the influencer work they could like look forward to or tap into?
That's a great question. If you're an influencer for a niche or a specialty. So usually there's something that you're an expert on that you can sell books or courses on. Yeah. Well, I actually kind of treat books and courses separately, because books, like Ash, What the FICO was actually one of the very first books I read when I got into personal finance too. I was like, I gotta learn credit a little better too. So having books, I treat my books as a separate income stream. Planners, even if you don't necessarily feel like you could write a book, a planner. My planner went up. When I first released my planner, that was paying my rent in New York City for like the first year and a half. Yeah. So a planner is something that you could sell. And then courses. Courses do really, really well. You just have to figure out, and then you teach. One of the things I learned about courses is I felt like, so my husband is a videographer. Yeah. He is,
which is clutch though, right? Because
but it ain't.
But let me tell you, and you clear this up for me. Let me tell you. Early on though,
my video was.
Oh my God, I was like, yo, that's the cheat code. So I'm doing my little iTunes video or iPhone video, and I'm looking at Tonya, so I was like, yo, because Kamari worked at BET, like he high level like video, and so I'm looking at her influencer stuff, and I'm like, yo, like I think I hit you one day, like, yo, No, who's doing your video? You're like, oh, come on. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
That's clutch.
I have to shout out my husband because
clutch.
he does this, like, has directed Kendrick Lamar videos.
Yep.
He has worked for Netflix,
Yep.
BET, Essence, like his Disney, his
Resume
repertoire.
long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily do as much video together because he is so meticulous. I remember the first time we did a course together, it took like 6 weeks to put the course together.
Oh, wow.
Because he's like, we got to go shoot on green screen,
Yeah.
And I made more money with courses I just sat and taught in front of my laptop than the one that we meticulously shot. And so I also learned that, like, your courses don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
The actual cheat code is teach the course live, record the course, sell that as a bundle around Black Friday.
Whoa.
So that's what we ended up doing was recording my own courses. Every month I was dropping a new course. Then Black Friday comes around, we sell it as a bundle.
Yeah.
We move on from Black Friday. Anytime I'm running a project, like the boot camp we just dropped, now those courses are bonus content for my boot camp.
Right.
So those courses are serving ongoing. So definitely courses is a way to bring in money.
Yeah.
Writing. A lot of people don't realize you can get paid as a writer. I know when I first started writing, my first writing gig was like $50 an article. And the last one I took paid me $7,000 to write an article.
Yeah. I might have to start writing again.
Yeah.
I remember I used to write for like a lot of like Experian, like a lot of those credits. I think the most I've gotten paid for writing like $3,000. I might have to start writing.
And so that was attached to a brand, but it's
yeah.
also because I can write.
For
It
sure,
was attached to a brand.
Yeah.
But writing is something else, especially if you're an influencer in an educational space or like parenting or automotive or anything like that. These publications need writers. So that was a consistent revenue stream. Hosting events. So if you're a social person and you're connected with your entire influencer community, what I would do is I would host events for brands, bring my influencer friends to the brand events, and then the brands would pay me to have my friends there.
Wow, yeah.
And so that was another revenue stream for me in the business. And in public speaking. I don't think we talked about public speaking.
No.
Public
And
speaking.
That's the bag.
Yeah.
That's a bag. Don't miss that.
Public speaking, like, I remember the first time I spoke publicly, Tiffany, it was like for sisters only or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm still working my little job at the YWCA. So she's like, we're going to be on a panel, send your invoice over. And I sent over a $500 invoice because of me, I'm like, $500 to talk?
Right.
And she was like, no, that's too much money to come back better. I was like, 1,200? She's like, okay, I guess, girl, that's what you want. And now it's like, I remember it definitely
5 figures.
Definitely. And then having a book. So here's the beauty of having a book is I've had engagements that are like, we'll pay you, like, what's your rate? And I'll be like $15,000. And I'll be like, okay. And then they'll be like, we want to buy some books too. Yeah. And I'm like, cool. I have books that you can buy. And then I'll be able to add my books on top of that. So I've added like $8,000 on top of a speaking invoice for books.
Absolutely.
And so, yes, those are the different revenue streams: speaking, courses, your books, coaching, classes, events. Yeah.
No, I love it. All right, so now we going back to 18-year-old Tonya, right? So now you are where you are. You're influencing lives, and that's the other thing I wanna be clear on before we move on to that, is that being an influencer isn't just about the money.
No, absolutely
right?
not.
It's about influence is the root word of influencer, which means you're influencing people to do something, and the something that they're doing is bettering their lives.
Yeah. I mean, in our industry, there's
True,
all types of influencers.
True.
And all influencers don't have integrity.
That's true.
I mean, for me, I will not work with a brand that I don't believe in. I will not work with a brand if I don't feel like they have a positive angle for our community. Even like thinking about like the prepaid card and everything, I got a lot of pushback from that. But they brought me in to educate. Right. They didn't even really I wasn't actually pushing the car. I was educating their audience on how to budget, how to save money when you're taking trips, different things you could cut back on costs. And so at the core, I mean, I'm a change agent at the core. My undergrad degree is public administration. My master's is urban policy. Like, I've always wanted to change lives, and I feel entirely blessed to be able to change lives and make good money doing it. It's just finding another way to do it, because a lot of us have been told that in order to change lives, in order to be a servant or a public servant, you got to struggle, or you have to starve, or you have to die poor, or die without assets. And that's not the case. That's not the case.
No, I love that. I love that. So now, 18-year-old self, you are where you are right now. What advice would Tonya today give 18-year-old Tonya?
I would tell her, don't count yourself out. I think 18-year-old Tonya would feel like there were opportunities that weren't available to me. I wouldn't even try, because I was like, no. Like, for example, I wanted to go to Chapel Hill. And I was an excellent student, terrible test taker. My SAT scores are embarrassing. They were embarrassing. So shout out to people who are successful despite bad SAT scores, because they were terrible. And so I was like, we're not even going to apply. And then I met somebody, and they had like the same scores I did, and they went to Chapel Hill. And I was like, Dad, you know,
so you counted yourself out.
I counted myself out. So I would tell my 18-year-old self, do not count yourself out. At least give it a try. Like Tonya then wouldn't even walk up to the door. So now it's like, walk up to the door, knock or open it, and give it a try. You never know what's going to happen.
No, I love that. I love that. And then now, you know, somebody watching who is in the same boat, right? Where they have this itch, they have this idea, they want to, you know, put something out there, start their own business. But they got this 9-to-5, right? They got one foot at the 9-to-5, 1 foot in entrepreneurship. What advice are you giving to them?
Learn everything you can from your 9-to-5. You know, I think that every experience that we have leads us to the next experience in our life. When I was at my 9-to-5, I was very strategic. I was doing the influencer programming events. My 9-to-5, I was a coordinator of community initiatives or coordinator of community programming. Hey, they have this program on creating events, creating impactful events. I think that really served my role here. Cool, sign up, Tonya, we'll pay for it. It's like $1,100 program that I was able to enroll in. Like, leverage your 9-to-5 for every opportunity. I had to pay for a business writing class for me. Like, just leverage it for every opportunity if it's possible. I mean, there are some people where it's just totally out of alignment. They're a conductor and they want to, you know, do something else. So it's totally out of alignment. But if they don't have opportunities for education, then leverage the money. Leverage the money. Like, even what I feel like some businesses and a lot of businesses are set up like this, where you could do your entrepreneurial endeavor as a side job first. So allow your primary job to take care of your expenses, and then allow your side job to enable you to grow your money, like save money, pay off debt, do whatever you need to do so that you can be in a good position that when you step into your entrepreneurship or step into entrepreneurship full time, your side hustle has paid for all those things, so you don't have as much stress. I think a lot of people don't realize the opportunity they are in having two incomes. It's like, no, that is a fantastic opportunity to be in. And leverage your job to buy what you need for your business. Use it to leverage your credit to get what you need. A lot of us have a hard time getting funding. So use that income that you're getting from your job to leverage the opportunity to get credit or get loans or buy equipment that you need for what you're passionate about. I don't think enough people, they look at it as a detriment instead of, how do I leverage this? Like, how do I leverage where I am to get where I want to be?
And why do you think that? Because I see a lot of, you know, like 9-to-5 shaming and things of that nature. And like, so what's your thoughts, right? Like, on like entrepreneurship, like is entrepreneurship easy? Is it, you know, like what's your thoughts on those who are like pushing everybody to be an entrepreneur?
This shit ain't for everybody. And sometimes I'll be like, do you really want to do this? No, and you know, at this point, I'm unemployable. But when I first resigned, I was like, ooh, you don't get a paycheck anymore. Like, you eat what you kill. And so it's like, you really have to be motivated without someone over your shoulder. You have to be motivated to continue learning, because what got you here will not get you there. So like, your same tricks that worked when you started might not get you to the next level. So you have to be focused on continuously learning. Networking is important. So you have to understand all the skills that make a successful entrepreneur. And if you're not willing to do those, then it might not be the best thing for you. Entrepreneur, my mother, definitely not an entrepreneur. Like, the most anti-entrepreneur. My mom was doing taxes for people and would be upset when somebody called about their taxes. Like, sis, it's their taxes. What do you mean?
Right.
Like, they want their money.
Right.
Like, you know, it's like some people just aren't entrepreneurs. And that's okay because entrepreneurs need people who we can hire.
Yeah.
We need people to hire. Like, I feel like we need both to keep the economy flowing.
Absolutely.
But it takes some real soul searching. And if entrepreneur, just because it's not for you doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that there's so much entrepreneur bashing going on that people are like, man, if I can't make this work, dang, I'm a failure. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not for you, and that's okay.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So let's tap into, you know, let me get in your business a little bit, right? You know, now you've made, you know, you became a millionaire by being an influencer. What would you say is the most extravagant thing you've done with money so far?
Oh, so my sister and best friend, I was like, you know, you don't wear your money. You're so humble. I'm just starting to allow myself to do things. Okay. The most extravagant thing I've done so far, you know, I'm still breaking that mindset. I would say it's happening in a few weeks, and I'm flying a private jet down to Tulum.
Nice.
So I'm flying with friends.
Nice.
But I'm flying on a private jet for the first time. So that's going to be the most extravagant thing I've done since I've had money. Like, I don't consider like buying bags and stuff extravagant. Okay.
And then so what is the most impactful thing you've done with money so far?
I started a nonprofit called Maternal, and we paid for doula fees for 10 women. Doula midwife fees for 10 women, helping them have a birth that they desired.
And why was that important for you?
Because I realized the privilege that I had being financially successful, financially free. When I had my son, I had a midwife, I had a doula, I took birthing classes, I had my OBGYN, I had a birth team because I knew the birth statistics for black women. And after having my son, I realized I was like one of the only black women who had all those resources. Right. So I was able to pay for doula fees for 10 women, doula and midwife fees, so that they didn't have to do birth alone.
Wow, that's powerful. All right, so we're going to do a lightning round.
Okay.
Lightning round, literally we take some terms, some banking terms, and we flip them a little bit. And so the first term here inside the vault, so normally, you know, when you go into a bank and you want to, you know, deposit money into the bank, you use a deposit slip, right? But here inside the vault, deposit slip is a slip up. It's like a mistake, right?
Oh.
Talk to me about the biggest deposit slip that Tonya Rapley has made.
Biggest deposit slip. So many of them. Allowing an ex to like run up credit card debt in my name. Run up all the debt in my name, and I was responsible for paying it off.
Wow. And what was that journey like? Having to like.
I was in denial for a long time until they started garnishing my wages.
Wow.
And even it followed me to when I started my business because he had messed up my PayPal account. So I couldn't even collect money via PayPal. Wow. And then I was like, you know what? I don't even like my life being inconvenient. Let's just fix this. Wow. But that was almost 7 years after that relationship. I was still paying for stuff.
So 7 years after the relationship, you're still paying for stuff.
Still paying. I had to pay off my PayPal balance.
Wow. So lesson, right?
Slip up. Don't let anybody else take advantage of your good credit.
Man. Wow. All right. Number 2 is charge off, right? And so charge off is, you know, when you
they said we done with you.
Right? You're done, right? You know, you borrow money from the bank, you don't pay the bank back, the bank charges you off. But for us inside the vault, charge off is a mindset or people that you have to like, you know, like you had to charge off. So what kind of mindset or people that you had to charge off?
Victim mentality. I cannot do victim mentality. Yeah. I don't like it around me. Yeah. If I, you know, I'll support you initially, but after a while, when I see that is your state of being, I withdraw myself because I don't exist in a victim consciousness. Wow. And I feel like environment, like it's contagious, and I don't want to start to fall into that. Wow. Definitely that.
Love it. Last but not least, trust account, right? So a trust account is where you take your assets, your most valuable things, you put them in a trust account to secure your legacy, to help get your wealth to the next level. But for us inside the vault, trust account is what type of mindset or people do you have in your trust account that's helping you cement your legacy and get you to that next level? The mindset and the people.
Oh man, definitely my husband. He definitely believed in me before anybody else did. My coaches, and I'm perpetually being coached. Nehemiah Davis, good friend and coach of mine. Arel Moody was my public speaking coach. But coaches have definitely been impactful. Yeah. Raven Hockett was the very first coach that I worked with when I transitioned from my 9 to 5. Yeah. So I trust coaches. Yeah. I trust people who have been there before. Yeah. Like, I want to know, you've been there, you've done what I'm trying to do. Just tell me what I shouldn't be doing and what I should be doing. Yeah. So I trust coaches and people who study and people who invest in themselves. Yeah. I also don't like to invest in someone who isn't investing in themselves. Yeah. Like, I'm in Nehemiah's program. As a good friend of mine, I said, I want to have my first year where I make $1 million in a year. Mm-hmm. So I trust you to take me there. Yep. And also, you're in your own mastermind where you're investing six figures to better yourself. Yeah. Yeah. So I trust people who invest in themselves and who have done the work.
And I want to touch on that, right? And because like, when people think about courses or when people think about like spending, they're like, not out, I'll wait. But you're like, I got coaches, right? Like,
I'm going to start learning how to trade. Yep. Terry is Yoma. Mm-hmm. Terry is Terry's amazing. So after I get a few things, I have a launch next week. Yeah. After I get that off the table, I'm going to start learning how to trade from Terry.
Nice.
So coaches, plural.
Nice. No, I love it. I want one more, right? So we're going to go ATM. ATM is when you put your card in, you get the money that comes out. But for us here inside the vault, ATM is another teachable moment. Before we go, drop one more bar for inside the vault for our insiders.
Not now doesn't mean not ever.
Ooh, that's a bar.
It's important to teach. It's important to tell yourself that not now doesn't mean it won't ever happen for me. Yeah. I think that early on I would get disappointed for things not going a certain way, or this client, I didn't land this, or I didn't get this podcast deal, or whatever it may be, but it's because it wasn't time. So not now does not mean not ever. That's just remember that. Yeah.
No, I love it. Listen, Tonya Rapley, listen, she just gave you the game, nothing but the game to help you grind. Tonya, if someone wanted to connect with you, wanted to get part of your tribe, wanted to follow you, wanted to get everything you're doing, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, so everybody I think my name is easy to spell, but it's TONYA RAPLEY. You can find me as that on Instagram, but my brand is MyFab Finance, so we're MyFab Finance and uniformly branded on all platforms.
Listen. If y'all didn't take notes, if you didn't learn, if you're not doing your Googles to figure out how you get them satellite tours and all that good stuff, you are doing yourself a disservice. Make sure you tap in with my sis, Tonya Rapley, who's doing big things, and she's just getting started because we about to get that million a month. You know what I'm saying? If you know, you know. Thank y'all for tapping in. Make sure you follow us at Inside the Vault. Follow me at I am Ash Cash. And until next time, in God's will, the greatest money mindset show on the planet, Inside the Vault. I'm going to see you next time, same place. Peace.
Oh yeah. You won't Ash Cash, you can catch it right here in the vault.